Hey everyone, I'm here with Michael Essek. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing good, Juna. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
It's awesome to have you. This has been one of my things that I've been wanting to do for a very long time. I'm a huge fan. I've been following you since before Merch on Demand, I think, Merch by
Wow.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Um, I remember seeing you at the Merch by Amazon conference in
hmm
Seattle 2018. So that's how
Yeah.
long ago I've seen you, and I've been a fan, even before then. So it's awesome to have you on. I love how you teach and the things that you teach. I mentioned before that I have that poster that you have behind behind
Yeah.
you. Yeah, and so it's been a long time coming. So it's awesome to have you on my channel. Thanks for being here.
No, it's great. Yeah, I remember meeting you back in Seattle. It seems like a world ago, but yeah,
Yes.
it was good times back then, and yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. I have lots of questions for you, and I know you how you teach, and excited to see what you're showing. I'm going to show my followers. I know that I love what you share, so I'm hoping that they do too. I can't see why they wouldn't. I love that I put up here t-shirt design idea master because you are full of ideas and how to find them and how to design t-shirts, and so this is perfect. So I'm going to start off with a very basic question, and the first question that I have for you is, how long have you been designing and selling t-shirts?
Yeah, so it's actually 2013 was when I sold my first
Oh,
design on Redbubble. Uh,
nice.
so we were recently married. I actually had a website that I sold. It was only making me, I don't know, $100 or so a month, but I sold it to someone. And then I realized that actually now I'm not making that $100 a month anymore. So I was looking for some kind of side income and stumbled into this world of, it was actually the shirt a day sites like the T
Mhm.
Furies and places like that, Woot and others. And that's where I started. But then I stumbled onto Redbubble, created a few designs there, and yeah, within a few weeks, maybe a month, I'd sold one and had that little email that said you've made. I think it was like £2.50 or something like that.
Mhm.
But that was the trigger that made me think, okay, well, I only had like 3 or 4 designs up. Maybe if I make 20 or 30, maybe we could increase that, and that kind of began the journey. So that was 2013, about summer 2013. Things really took off in 2015, as you know, with Merch by Amazon, and when that whole thing took off. From the end of 2015, 2016, that's when I think it was 2016 when I went full time. So I quit my day job as a graphic and web designer and just went all into t-shirts, mainly focusing on Merch by Amazon, but obviously selling on Redbubble, TeePublic, Etsy, Shopify stores, you name it.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize that we have a connection there because I quit my job as a UX designer
Mm,
recently. So we kind of have
really?
that web designer, website
Yeah,
designer.
web design background. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it lends
yeah.
itself to designing. Yeah, it gives you that leg up. I think that's one advantage I had coming into that space. I mean, I'd always been artistic. I'd always been drawing.
Yeah.
Um, so to find a side hustle, if you like, that
Matches.
relied on some of those
Mhm.
skills was really useful, and that gave me a leg up, I think,
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
early days. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great. Well, thanks for sharing your origin story. Now that we know that, like, you have such a good background of print on demand and all the sites and all of that, today in 2025, what print on demand site would you suggest people start with?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm just going to knock my brightness down here as such.
Oh, no
So
problem.
it's strangely gone sunny here in the UK for a change. Um, yeah, so yeah, right now, obviously, if you've got a Merch by Amazon account, that's probably the best
Mhm.
place to start. Um, Aside from that, I think Redbubble has always been my second go-to, but they are
Mhm.
kind of plateauing slash slightly falling of late. TeePublic seems to be doing a little bit stronger, and I seem to be having more steady success and growth with TeePublic than with Redbubble. Um, and then after that, I would probably look into Etsy. That would be my next kind of place as a marketplace that brings organic traffic. And then after that, it would be your Shopify's or your WooCommerce, your own branded sites, those kind of things. But yeah, there's been a lot of change in the past few years, some of the bigger sites or sites that were big names several years ago, Threadless, Society 6, some of these places are, you know, not what they were, or some like Society 6 have closed
Mhm.
things down completely. Uh, TeePublic and Redbubble are getting a lot stricter on new accounts and new signups and things like that. So it's certainly a more, I think you need to have some kind of differentiation. You need to have something that sets you apart. And a lot of these platforms are being very strict. And so you're going to have to be, you're going to have higher quality. You're not going to be throwing loads of stuff at the walls. You're going to be doing stuff that is what they want rather than AI slop or hundreds of designs of the same style or whatever it might be. So it's a very different landscape than it was several years ago. That's for sure.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, we definitely, and that's what I like about you is you teach how to differentiate the designs from other people and make it different and stand out and all of that. So yeah, I've never heard the term AI slop, but now I'm going to use it.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? I see it everywhere these days. Not just I see the term, but I also see
Yeah,
lots of AI slop
of
uh,
course,
in general. But
because it's so easy now to do it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And not just like designs, but articles,
right.
emails. I'm seeing lots
Mhm.
of emails that I get the very strong impression of being written by AI.
Yeah,
Yeah, website articles and stuff like that. Obviously, now we're seeing videos and stuff like
yeah,
that.
everything. It's
But
everywhere.
yeah, it's really yeah. Just on the AI slop thing, I think a lot of it is for so long, um, or just in general, like a lot of stuff isn't that great quality. If you think about
Hmm.
articles online that are made to help a website rank, on Google or something like that, or designs that are just trying to hop onto this trend. Yeah, the truth is a lot of stuff for a long time is not actually great quality, and then it's not really surprising that AI can imitate that and do that kind of stuff. I mean, it
Hmm.
is incredible technology, but it's not. It's not the oh my gosh, it's like okay, well, it wasn't very good anyway. Your email writing wasn't very good anyway. Of course, it can replicate that relatively easily.
Right.
And when it comes to design, I think that's where there is this opportunity because we're in this transition where AI is good and it can produce what looks like professional designs. But if you don't know what you're gunning for and you don't know what you're trying to create, or you don't really know what the audience is wanting, then it can just be, this
Hmm.
very generic designs that come out all the time and they end up looking very similar, and you can definitely tell when people are using just AI rather than using it as part of a process. So yeah, it's interesting. You got me off on a bit of a tangent there, but I've been thinking about it a lot.
No, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I
Yeah.
actually I didn't put that as a question, but I really wanted to ask you that because
Mm,
we come from a more traditional
yeah.
design style, and then AI came
Mhm.
along and kind of did what it did. So
Changed everything. Yeah.
yeah,
And I still
um,
think it's not. Who knows? We don't really still. I mean, you and me, we've probably been obviously watching the AI develop
mm,
over the past few years, and it's been what
absolutely.
3 years maybe now,
Yeah,
or
it feels
coming up
like
on that
longer, but it's only been
since the
like three
first
years. Yeah.
version of DALI 2, or
Uh-huh.
those first initial
Hmm.
AI models, and now um, it's certainly at a stage where it produces professional looking
Hmm.
designs, but I it's still not at a stage where I can use it for 80% of the designs I want to create. So just yesterday I had a case where there was a phrase there was like a joke around this phrase, just text, and I wanted to do it in a certain style. It was kind of like a parody style of a particular
Hmm.
logo. Well, AI can't do that,
Hmm.
so obviously had to fire up Photoshop and do that. It took me 5 or 10 minutes. Very simple design, but not something that AI can do and get
Hmm.
it done right. Um, and other cases, like last week, there was a trend that required an illustration. The AI doesn't have knowledge of that subject matter, so I had to draw it myself. And so there's lots of use cases where it's helpful in many ways, but it's not this fully automated system. And I doubtful that it will ever be. I don't think we'll ever see a world where someone searches something on a Redbubble, for example, and an AI is able to craft a design on the fly that
Hmm.
that person would then want to buy. Yes, it might look professional, it might have the words spelled right, but there's so many pieces of the puzzle that AI can't do off
Hmm.
the bat, and that's where having a design background, being in touch with your audience, understanding the context, and all these things that go into creating funny ideas and funny concepts in the first place, then has to line up with the design side. So the AI is great at some of the design side, and I have, there's 20% of use cases where
Hmm.
the AI can create a design which is almost usable off the bat, or just needs a few little tweaks here and there, which is great when that happens, and that allows you to get things out further and faster than before. But it's still quite a relatively small use case of strategies and of approaches where that is usable in my experience.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I like what you said there too. So AI can't do everything, and so I think one way to stand out, especially for t-shirt designers, is to do things that AI can't do, and
Exactly. Yeah.
you can really stand out that way.
Yeah.
That kind of brings me to my next question a little bit. I think this is a little connected. Um, what's your biggest tip for new print-on-demand sellers with all this going on? I
Mhm.
think a new print-on-demand sellers may think, "Oh, I just use AI and I can make a lot of t-shirts." What's your tip for new print-on-demand sellers?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think um, one of the best bits of advice is to not do what everyone else is doing, and
Hmm.
to look for where you have an advantage or a leg up or something. If everyone's doing it and it's easy, then there's not going to be a lot of profit in that. There's not going to be a lot of long term
Hmm.
success and opportunity in there. So if you can zig when everyone is zagging, um, I've always been a big proponent of original designs, original content, for a number of reasons. It allows you to capitalize and kind of build a moat around whatever
Hmm.
you're doing. So I've got several designs which are my best sellers, which were created in 2017 or 2018,
Hmm.
and which are still selling daily, and they are original, not just original designs but original concepts. The phrase, the joke, that was something I came up with or stumbled across myself. Um, and because of that, there was zero competition, and everyone who follows after is later to the to
Hmm.
the to the party than me. So I was there first. That allows me to sit at the top of the results. The kind of wheel effect or the snowball effect of SEO or of being the top result. That just continues year after year. So these results are these designs are very unlikely to ever be knocked off that perch because it was an original
Hmm.
concept. Obviously, people come along and copy it all the time, but it's very hard for them to actually, you know, knock me off that perch. So if you can do that and you can do enough of that, that's a business. That's a really
Hmm.
great business model. Is if you can just keep creating. Keep creating new and original things which give you that leverage, that advantage, and do enough of it. Those are really the only components you need. Now, obviously, that takes time to build that portfolio. It takes time to build those sales and get them coming in over time reliably and consistently. But if you've got that time and you're willing to put in that effort, and of course you need to be able to like adjust and learn and notice what's happening and what's selling and what isn't, and
Hmm.
you're going to learn as you go. But yeah, I think the worst advice would be look at what's selling, copy everyone, go after the busy high competition areas and things like that. It's just never worked for me doing it that way anyway. So I can only really advise on what I would do with my experience, and that's one thing I would do is zig when others are zagging, and learn how to create original ideas so that you can tackle the latest trend or the latest joke or whatever it is, because the big competitive niches, they're always going to be there, but they're always going to be high competition. They're very
Hmm.
going to be very hard to get into. But the trend that is just beginning to bubble up online this week, that in a few months' time is going to be huge, there's very few designs for that new trend. And if you can actually look at a trend and then put it together with some frameworks or some ideas and come up with original stuff, if you can do that consistently over time, then that's how you can build a decent portfolio, and you can be reasonably confident that you can make consistent sales, because there's always a new trend, there's always a new
Hmm.
topic, there's
Hmm.
always a new story. And if you can come in and get that, the idea that's really on the nose, that really hits the target for that trend, what people are looking for, or it does something new and different and clever, then that's how you can, yeah, have that leverage, have that advantage, and just keep on building and building as you go.
That's awesome. I'm glad you mentioned that, because my next question kind of follows this idea of how do you come up with good t-shirt design ideas? I think you teach that a lot. Love to hear your thoughts on that for a new seller as well as those that are already doing that. So
Yeah, yeah, it's a favorite topic of mine.
yeah.
I really like the idea process. I remember in the early days, especially when I just quit my job, I was aware that the amount of money we were going to make from these designs was going to be based on how many designs we had.
Hmm.
And in order to create a lot of designs, we needed a lot of ideas, because you need to just keep on creating. It's like a conveyor belt or a factory. You need a
Hmm.
lot of inputs in order to get the outputs. And also a lot of those inputs, a lot of those ideas that you think are good ideas, especially when you're working on original stuff, they turn out not to be good ideas, or they turn out to be unworkable, or you can't even turn them into workable designs, or there's some weird thing about it. So yeah, the process of coming up with ideas is really has been critical to my success. I think it's the ability to put two and two together and come up with something that people identify with and they like. So I think that's a big part of it, is understanding what works, in particular what works for t-shirt designs and t-shirt concepts. So there's very t-shirts as popular cultural items has been around since, what, like the 1960s or something like that, from the
Hmm.
early days of 1970s. So we know there's styles, there are iconic graphics, there are phrases, there are types of jokes, there's different types of puns, there's all these different frameworks for ideas which are well established and which we know work. Um, so that would be one thing to spend time understanding and studying, is what are the proven frameworks that work. And when you're trying to come up with ideas, you should be using those, you should be leaning on those frameworks. You should be not trying to reinvent the wheel and trying to do something completely original and crazy and weird. It might be crazy and weird, but it should also, in most cases, lean on a phrase that people are familiar with, or a
Hmm.
joke that people are familiar with, or a graphic style that people are familiar with, so
Hmm.
that you're lining things up and people can look at something and get the joke immediately. T-shirts are a visual medium. There's often, jokes with text and stuff, but it's often, people are going to see a t-shirt design and it's going to be like an immediate, they get it or they don't type of thing. It's going to happen in or milliseconds.
Hmm.
So understanding what works, and then doing and leaning into that is really critical. So yeah, if you want to come up with good t-shirt ideas, then you learn what works. Like anything, I suppose, you learn the patterns, you learn to recognize patterns, and you learn how to actually create based on those patterns. And another key thing that a lot of people miss is just thinking about the products you're designing for. So
Hmm.
like we just said, if you're creating t-shirt designs specifically, then you want to lean into that. You want to use visual styles that people recognize, or even like parody styles, so people are familiar with things. So you're not oftentimes with artists and designers or illustrators, they want to bring their style. They want to do, I guess the ideal artist, perfect world is where you draw whatever you want and you create whatever you want and you just put it up online and people just buy it and they just like you and they like your style. And that's great. And that can, obviously, a lot of artists do get there, but it takes years and years of work. And a kind of quicker way to get some traction and some sales and some money in your pocket is to think more like a hired gun, like you're trying to create the idea that somebody out there is looking for, and you're going to put it together in the right visual language, in the right visual style, and you don't have to yeah, you don't really want to be it, you don't want it to be about you and about your style. You want it to be just kind of
Mm,
you want your design to just be a vehicle for the buyer to see something that they're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want, or that's exactly the style I was looking for, or that joke is the right approach, or that's the right language that I want to use. Obviously, people don't think like that, but that's the connection you're trying to make. And if you can do that, then you are you're just kind of making a really easy pathway to sales for yourself, and because you're making it easier for buyers to say yes to what you're creating. So yeah, understand what works. Think about the product you're designing for, and use those proven frameworks and techniques.
yeah, that's great advice. I think I was thinking what you're saying, and I was thinking back to our UX design and website design background, and we think about the user, right?
Mm,
UX design, user experience, and I think that translates really well to thinking about the buyer, right? I think a
yeah,
lot of people that start off don't think about the buyer; they just put designs that they want, and then wonder why it's not selling because they're
yeah,
not thinking
exactly.
about what
Yeah,
the
exactly.
buyer's
It's about
wanting. Yeah,
connecting with someone. It's you're communicating.
yeah.
It's not art for art's sake. It's not
Hmm.
fine art in a gallery.
Hmm.
It's not
It's
something to
different.
be interpreted and studied. It's
Hmm.
commercial art is
Yeah,
what we're creating, and that has to do something. It has to move people, has to communicate a message, and they have
yeah,
to be on board with that. So yeah, it's very similar. It's about
yeah,
putting the user first. It's about thinking about what mindset they're in and those kind of things. And
yeah,
oftentimes this is not something you can do, ahead of time. It's not like you can say, oh yeah, they're going to be thinking this, and
yeah,
so I should create a design like this. It's more that these things come out in the creative process, so that you have an idea, and then you start sketching that idea, or you might use AI, like in software that I have, to start visualizing it. And then, as you've got something down on paper or something visually, you go, "Oh no, that's wrong," or "This would be so much better if the illustration was like this," or "Oh, it would be better if it was in this style," or you begin to cross off things that don't work. You begin to realize this would be a much better approach. So it's just having that in your mind, and not just being like,
mhm.
I'm creating a design that says this and I'm putting it with this graphic and out the door it goes and that's it. If you
Mhm.
do that, you're bound to fail. And but if you're just kind of thinking like a like a human being,
Right.
um, I like t-shirts. I like the style. I like the screen print style of t-shirts. I like screen printed posters. I like um, a lot of that. And I think about oftentimes, like, if I want to buy a t-shirt um, for a band that I like, what's the kind of thought process I go through? And oftentimes
Mhm.
it's like, well, you go and search or you find their merch store, and then maybe they've got several different designs. And so you already know that you want to buy something, but you're looking for the right version of that
Mhm.
merch t-shirt that you want to buy. I don't really like that one, that's a bit weird or whatever, but I like this one. And you're kind of going through that process. So if you can think like that, or just think back to when was the last time you bought a t-shirt about the thing that you're interested in or that you like, that will serve you well.
Yeah, cool. I like that thought process. You mentioned earlier about also jumping on trends early. How do people find trends? What's your thought behind that?
Yeah, for me it's always been very organic and natural. I live on the internet. I've been
Mhm.
raised on the internet, as it were. So I'm on Twitter. Um, I just see things that are happening. I take an interest in popular culture or internet culture or current events, um, and I have interests. I have hobbies. So I I think obviously there is a kind of subset of like trends that are likely to make a dent in t-shirt design world, which are different from whatever it might be, trends that are happening in the world. There's obviously lots of news stories every day which are never going to work
Mhm.
in a kind of t-shirt context. So yeah, I think if you are, I think there's a really there's a distinction to be made between like trends, as in here's some kind of short-term, joke or one-liner, uh, meme, or it could be a longer term kind of trend, but these kind of things that just kind of come and go. And then there's what distinguishes that from, I don't know, a topic that you're interested in, or maybe you're interested in a particular scientist from the 1800s, or a
Mm,
particular movement in philosophy, or I don't know, the study of climate change or geology. What really the kind of the thing that makes them interesting, or that people who are interested in those topics want to buy something, is the same whether it's a short-term trend or a long-term trend.
mm,
Um, and so I do have, I've had a lot of success with trends over the years. Um, and I would just say that just being interested in stuff is a great place to start. So having hobbies, having I've had success with short-term trends, but I've had more sticky success with topics and what's the word, subject matter that is just kind of evergreeny. And
mm,
I hesitate to use that term because I know people are going to think, oh, that means like, I don't know, Mother's Day or Halloween or birthdays. That's not what I mean. I mean like a topic that people, for example, will still be studying in 10 or 20 years, and they were studying it 10 or 20 years ago.
mhm,
And those kind of things that people are going to be, there's going to be constant new interest in a topic. And it's
mhm,
not going to be, the best, it's never going to be in the top 10 t-shirt sellers on Amazon or Redbubble any given week. It's never going to be that, but it's always going to be a topic that's kind of bubbling away there, and there's always going to be new people getting interested in it and coming into it and searching and wanting a design. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about in trends. I've got a course which I teach called Total Trends Toolkit, which is basically me finding this short-term trend which happened a couple of years ago, how I create designs for it, how I found it, how I evaluated it and analyzed it, and then jumped on it. And what I learned through that, and it's a great course, it's really good, especially if that's what you want to do. But what I learned through teaching it is actually a lot of these processes and stuff, they're exactly the same, whether it's a short-term trend or whether it's some longer-term topic that you want to kind of deep dive into. A lot of the processes and the analysis that you go through is going to be the same. Um, so yeah, I find trends because I'm hopelessly addicted to Twitter and can't bring myself away from it. But I do think, but funnily enough, long term big winners for me and big hitters for me have been topics that are not, short term trends. They're things that you can go to a library and pull out books about, or there's stuff like that which has really served me well over the longer term.
nice. Great. So there's trends and evergreen, and so many topics. I like that we went through this kind of progression. We got the ideas and then the topics, and now we got to put it all together, kind of
Mm.
lay it all out. I recently made like 25 basic t-shirt layouts just to help people. What are some of your tips for having a good t-shirt layout?
Yeah, this really comes back again to the core. What you're trying to communicate, and what's the best way to do that. So design is about visualizing
Hmm.
a concept and making it real. And everyone can have ideas in their heads, but it's actually getting it out in a way that uh, communicates and makes things easy for your buyer to buy it. So um, so yeah, when it comes to actual design, again, I've got a course on this topic in which I break down, I think it's five or six different sub categories of design, and each of those has a different approach. So it depends on what the idea is. So, for
Mm,
example, I mentioned like this idea that was just a text only idea that just really needed to be rendered in a certain way. That's like a text based design, you could call it that. There was no illustration, there was no drawing required. It was just some fonts on a t-shirt. So that's one type. And then there might be something else where you're going to need a graphic, and you're going to need uh, to spend some time designing that. So there's all these different subcategories, and I think it really helps to break them down into that, and then to understand what the goal is with, because each of those subcategories is different and they achieve a different thing and they're for a different purpose. So understanding that is really key. And if you don't understand that and you think, well, it's all I have to do is like put the text with a graphic, then you're going to come unstuck, or even more painfully, you're just going to create stuff that's not that effective as a design. And someone else, this has happened a lot where I've, for example, might have Googled a topic and seen, for example, we did this in the Total Trends Toolkit class. I was not the first person to create a design around this trend. You know, we Googled it. We can see there's several different designs already. The thing is, they're all bad. Like they're not good. They're not good concepts and they're not well executed. So I can come in with a good idea and execute it really well in this particular parody style, and boom, we're the top seller within the next day or two.
Wow.
So yeah, understanding that thing of it's not about premeditated layouts. It's about what's the idea and what's the best way to communicate that idea to the buyer, and that will depend on the topic, the subject matter, the context, and all those kind of things. So yeah, it's not okay. You can't give hard and fast rules like always use this layout, always use this font, always use these colors. Obviously, we know some of the core fundamentals, like you don't want to use too many colors, you don't want to use too many fonts, you want things to be simple and understandable to your target buyer, so they don't have to read a lot of information. They don't have to think about it. They should be able to like, bam, I get it, I get the joke, okay, I'm buying it. You don't want to make them think. Those are all kind of good fundamental principles, but certainly when it gets down to specifics, it really depends on exactly what the idea is, what the concept is, and what the wider context is.
Nice. Good. I love that. Yeah, it really is dependent, because it also depends who you're selling it to, right? Like we talked about, the person who's going to buy it. So
and the platform you're selling on, it matters as well, and how you're going to sell it is a big thing. There's designs that I will put on my my Shopify and will put on my Instagram, which I won't necessarily put on Amazon, and
makes sense,
vice versa. So yeah, there's it's not a hard and fast one size fits all approach.
Yeah, true. The thing I like about you, and you've been doing this for so long, that you have so many resources to help t-shirt designers. One being that poster behind you that I got a long time ago, but I'm sure you have a bunch of others. Can you talked about a little bit of some of the courses. Can you talk to us about some of the resources that you have to help people create t-shirts that people want to buy?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if I can share my screen here, I'll take you through a few things. So
cool.
Yeah, you can find everything on my website on Michael Essek under products here. The one thing that I've been focused on quite a lot recently is this software we've been working on called Ideally.
Cool.
And this is idea generation tool. So this grew out of this course which I have called the Ideas Workshop. This was my attempt to put everything together into how I come up with original ideas, and it breaks down all the different types of ideas, the frameworks and stuff. And it's quite a big course. There's a lot of videos, there's a lot of stuff to go through. The idea with Ideally is it kind of grew out of that. It was like, well, we want to take some of these tools, take some of these frameworks and build them into tools which we can actually help people come up with ideas really quickly. So that's how Ideally came about. This is what it looks like. We've been, as you can see, we've integrated some AI integration in the past few months. So there's a few. I'll just try and do a really quick demo. We don't want to take too much of the time, but
no, this is cool.
We've got a few key tools here that help come up with original ideas. So one of the key processes or methods I use is this, what's called plug-in phrases, which is these are just fill in the blank phrases which are well understood and well known for t-shirt design.
This is so cool.
So you'll recognize a lot of these, of course. We've collected and categorized like 1,500 plus and counting right now. So they're all in here. You can like scroll through them and view them all, or you can do things like put in a word. And so I was just trying to do some ideas around beavers. So just put in the word beavers.
Nice. And then it just adds it to it.
And then it just fills it in. and we can just come through
Of
here and go,
course
oh
you
yeah, I
can.
like that idea, beaver not bombs, or big beaver energy, uh, and so on and so forth. So I can just
So
kind of
funny.
save ideas, and they're going to
Yeah.
be saved over here.
Oh, I see.
Um,
Nice.
and we can do things like a good verb or something to do with beavers might be like gnaw. So we could
Oh,
put
yeah.
in the word gnaw, and then we could say, well, that's kind of an activity or a verb. So we can filter by different categories and stuff like that.
Wow.
Um,
That's so
so
fast.
yeah, so it goes through and just kind of finds different matching phrases that work with that. Uh,
Wow.
so
That's
yeah, born
cool.
to gnaw or gnaw or die trying or whatever. So you just like scroll through, and this is basically the method. Obviously, we didn't have the software back there, but this is basically the method that I used, where some of my best sellers have just come from.
Yeah.
Using simple phrases like this, which work really
I
well,
like it.
and uh, and then creating designs from them. So that's one of our tools in here, and then another one which is kind of my second go-to.
Right. And
This is
replace.
called the rhyme and replace,
Okay.
and what you can do here again, you just kind of enter a word related to your topic or whatever, and this is going to do a replacement pun. So that's where you get a rhyming word and you swap it out with an idiom that
Okay.
includes that word. So I've taught the method before, and it's something anyone can do kind of manually.
Yeah.
There's websites that have idioms and things like that. In fact, I know what I've done here. I've used a word that's going to take ages because this is a
It
word
rhymes
that's
with a
going
lot of
to
things.
rhyme with like or, and we've got like 13,000 phrases, and a lot of those are going to have or in it.
Too many
So
results.
I might just refresh this and try a different word. It will bring back results. We just have to wait a while because it's like it's going through all that stuff and it's taking it a while. So yeah, if we use a word like damn for beavers, that would be like a
Yeah.
fun word to go through. So
This is
yeah, it's
cool.
going to search through, like we've got something like 13,000 phrases, idioms, song lyrics, sayings, all kinds of phrases in here. And this is going to go and search through. It's going to look for words that rhyme with damn. It's going to swap
Uh-huh.
them out. And it's doing
That's,
this, as you can see, it's doing this like manually. It's not
yeah.
like spitting
A
back
lot of
AI
work.
based results. It's actually like going through a process.
Wow.
Um,
And so
so when
this
this
all
thing,
comes up with all the, this is like ideally makes sense because this is coming up with all your ideas, the phrases and everything, right?
exactly, yeah.
The
And if I
brainstorming,
can, I'll just show you while that's loading. I'll show you over here, uh, like my
your
saved
saved
ideas. So this is
ideas.
actually ideas that we've saved previously. I
When you
think my
come,
internet's
yeah. This is
failing
when
a
you
little
heart
bit.
it, when you clicked on the hearts that you
Yeah,
did
exactly.
before.
So
Okay.
here's the results that have come back here.
Oh, okay.
So we got like I am what I damn, and easier said than damn, and so
Okay.
on and so forth. It's about damn time.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
and
cool.
you can just like scroll through. You can see this has brought back like 187 results here,
Wow.
just in one certain
Oh, and
collection,
then
and
it
we've
kind
broken
of
it
does them
down.
in groups.
Yeah,
So,
we've grouped them. We've grouped the phrases, so sometimes that's quite handy. You can like
yeah.
look into like individual like song lyrics and stuff, or song titles
Nice.
and visuals.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, you could do like Dam of the Dead or, or something like that. So yeah, and then here's ones I've saved previously. So
I like that.
we've got yeah. So some of these here, like like Damn Straight or Pump Up the Dam or
Mm-hmm.
I Am What I Damn. So these are all the saved ideas that I've come up with using the various tools.
Nice.
And I can just go here and select a few. I'll just click Generate Images, and then this is where we can select different
Oh,
styles.
okay.
We've got all the major AI
Oh,
models up here.
wow.
So
Yeah, I recognize these. Flux
yeah,
and
but
helium.
we've got a few as well which are custom trained. So we've actually trained some styles. I don't know how familiar you are with like custom training of an AI
Mm-hmm.
model,
Mm-hmm.
but we've done a few of those, and that tends to come back with really good results as well. So I'll just click a few of these, and we'll see what.
Oh, and then is it going to add the text to it? Is that what? Oh, there
Yeah,
we go.
exactly. So it's gonna, if I say a beaver with sunglasses as my subject,
Uh-huh.
and then because I've already selected those phrases, it's going to take
Oh,
the text
it
from each of
already
those
knows.
phrases and it's going to render them in each of those styles. So this is really about giving you several design options and approaches
Okay.
for individual ideas, so you
Uh-huh.
can quickly get an idea visually. Oh, that works really well in that style, or it doesn't work so well in that style, or I really want to do a variation of this.
Wow.
So you can see these previous examples as well. But yeah, this is doing like I
Uh-huh.
really like this.
Yeah.
We've trained a Laura on a specific style, and it's really good at this kind of single color screen print
Yeah, I
approach,
like that. Yeah.
which
Very
is
vintage looking.
yeah, it's just really simple, and the illustration style is really good. It's not overly detailed, and there's a few styles we've got like that which are really I just really like them.
Uh-huh. Me too.
They don't always work off the bat. They might need some tweaking, but the actual style is really good, and
Yeah.
yeah, I love like the lettering and things like that. And there's a few like that which you can see here, but
So
yeah, a
what's
lot of it is about that. I mean, you can see obviously, how good some of the AI models are at coming up with
Yeah,
stuff.
that's a good one.
It's really impressive, and obviously we've got some of the things
It's
in
still
here.
going too. This is all
Yeah,
in the app ideally, and it's just
yeah.
wow.
So because we selected I think 3 different ideas, and then we selected like 5 styles. So it's
Wow.
actually taking those 3 ideas times 5. So it's going
Wow.
to generate one graphic for each of those. And when we see one that we like, or there's something with a bit weird, we can just kind of regenerate it or have another
Okay.
go. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
this is
what
ideally, and this is I think it's a great. I really love the ability to get visual
yeah. It's
feedback on
like
stuff.
brainstorming
Exactly. Yeah. I
with
mean, it's
help.
really cool to
Yeah.
obviously it was built to help come up with original ideas, and it's really
Yeah.
good at that. And but it's really really cool to actually take those ideas and within seconds get several versions of it, so you can
Yeah.
go, oh, I like that style, but I think I'll change that, or that's good, but I just need to rework the illustration or something. And
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, so what do you do? What's your next step? Like, let's say you pick that one.
yeah,
What would be your next step to make it a t-shirt design?
yeah, so I would so we can like upscale this
Okay.
right away, so that we then get a graphic that's obviously almost pretty much usable
Uh-huh.
size wise. And then I would probably being an artist and designer, oh, you can see how
Clean it up a
upscaled
little
that is
bit
now.
or
I would bring this over into Photoshop. I'd probably
uh-huh.
just want to draw on some teeth here for this beaver, just to
Oh
make
yeah,
it
oh,
a bit
yeah.
more obviously a beaver. I might lose a couple of these lightning bolts.
Uh-huh.
I might want to rework the colors a bit, maybe just reduce them down a little bit.
Okay.
Um,
I see what
but
you're
that's
saying.
just me, and it depends on the design and what you're going for. But yeah, I might even be tempted to add a bit more texture and
Yeah.
rough it up a little bit, although it's got a little bit of that.
I
But yeah,
see.
there's not a lot with a
It's
design like that that needs that much
it's a starting
tweaking.
point and then
It's
you add or take away from it.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And the only real caveat there is what's your long-term approach. Like
Mhm.
if this was for a particular short-term trend, then I'd be quite happy, making some relatively minor basic modifications to these and then putting them up there. Obviously, if I'm trying to build a brand and things like copyright and ownership are important to me, then you're going to be using these much more as inspiration rather
Mhm.
than as finished pieces of
Yeah.
design.
You might wanna make it
Um,
your style. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You'd want to redraw them, but again, like I spent many years using Google Images for
Mhm.
reference images
Yeah,
and
it's
redrawing stuff, and this gets you 80% of the way there. I could be like, okay, well,
absolutely.
this
Yeah.
is how I want the basic structure of the beaver to look. I'm just going to redraw it, in my by hand or whatever, or change a few colors.
Really
So yeah,
cool.
there's a lot of use cases, and there's certain stuff that occasionally you'll get the AI just comes up with something which you never would have thought
Right.
of, or it would have
Right.
taken you, who knows however long to arrive at something like that. Like, I mean, this is a weird design, but even just things like it decided to like put a little. It didn't decide. It's a machine. It doesn't decide, but it's put like a little circle inside
Yeah.
the
The
hose here,
O.
which gives it that kind
Yeah.
of creepy medieval thing. I was like, that is.
Yeah.
I never would have like thought of doing things like that,
Right.
and so to see the AI, give you options like that is really useful.
Mhm.
Little details like that, and yeah, fonts, colors, it's really great for that. It's not,
Really cool.
it's not always going to get you. It's rarely going to get you all the way there, but it's really helpful for getting you some of the way there. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's ideally, and
I love it.
I'm working on this all the time. We're adding new features, and I think if you're trying to come up with lots of ideas, which is what
Yeah,
you need, then you really need a tool that gives you, hundreds
yeah,
of ideas to choose from. It's that having a lot
correct.
and then being able to pick the best from a big list of ideas is really helpful. I find this is much
Absolutely.
better at coming up with original stuff than AI, because AI is always giving you
Hmm.
kind of rewritten approaches
Hmm.
to stuff that it's familiar with. Whereas
Yeah.
here we can find things that are like, you know, just weird or out of the box or out of pocket, as you might say.
Yeah. Well, the thing
Um,
I really like about Ideally, as opposed to what we see everywhere else with AI, is that you're coming up with the idea first, whereas a
exactly.
lot of the AI things, you kind of need to come up with that before you put in a prompt, right?
Yeah, and
Whereas,
that's really one of the
yeah,
things that I find is quite counterintuitive with a lot of the
yeah,
AI stuff is it's asking you to write this,
prompt, and you don't
heavy
know.
paragraph
Yeah,
of text
yeah,
in, and I'm an artist, I'm a designer, I want visuals, I'm used
yeah,
to sketching is where I would
uh-huh,
start with a
yeah,
design,
and
not
it starts
trying
with
to
just
describe it visually.
right.
So, yeah, if I the idea is, yeah, let's take a few of these ideas and
Uh-huh,
let's just get some visuals together,
yeah,
and we
so
don't have to write
smart.
out a prompt. I can just write frog with a hat on and start getting
Yeah,
some ideas right off the bat without having to
yeah,
go through
yep,
this this big paragraph of text,
yeah,
because that's forcing you to think, and I don't want to think. I want to get
yeah,
some visual feedback. I want the AI to do the thinking
yeah,
for me, if you like, and to
yeah.
start visualizing ideas. So
And you're
yeah,
coming
it's
up
that
with
thing of,
cool
I know I've got a
phrases
good
already.
idea.
Hmm.
how do i how do I visualize it? How do I get something that I can use or gets me to the next step?
Look at that.
So
Get your croak
that's
on.
how I
That's
use it.
so cool.
Yeah. So this is yeah, I think this is the new ideogram model which we've integrated
It looks really
last week.
good.
So yeah, some of the, obviously, as you know, like ideograms really good with the text.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes a bit samey, generic-y with the illustration though, which is why I
Yeah.
like Flux a bit
Hmm.
more for the illustrations. But again, there's a lot of use cases where this would be really good, or especially with text-only designs. Ideogram does a great job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's ideal.
I like ideogram too.
Yeah. And then yeah, just to mention a few others.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You got more than that.
Yeah, I mentioned the Total Trends Toolkit course.
Nice.
That's a course which uh, again, that's just kind of over my shoulder as I found this trend,
Okay.
which we go into, and it's basically tracking, like, I recorded the process like every day. Here's me finding the trend. Here's me designing for the trend. Here's when we got our first sale. Here's when it's selling at its peak on Amazon and on Redbubble, and like this kind of process of walking
Yeah.
through, and it just
That's
gives
really
you
cool.
we've got this kind of checklist which I follow, which is quite helpful for how do you analyze if this is a trend worth tackling and that kind of thing. So
Hmm.
that's Total Trends Toolkit if you're interested in that, and
I
then
like that
designing
because then
t-shirt.
that works
Sorry, go ahead.
well with Ideally too, because once you
Oh
find
yeah.
the trend, then you plug it into Ideally and then yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, it
yeah.
gives you, what's your next step, and then a few
Uh-huh.
of the things we've got. In fact, I did use Ideally for the actual idea that we one of the main ideas in that course,
Oh,
because
cool.
one of the things we've got is this bank of iconic images and iconic visuals
Oh,
here. So we've got like collections of
wow.
logos which are really. I
Wow.
mean, obviously, you're not going to use these logos, but you're going to do a
Yeah.
parody of them. You're going to change them,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's basically a big database of
Wow.
can I look through here and find something, like I've got a trend about an animal, so let me see. Oh, here's familiar logos and things about animals.
Yeah.
Maybe I can do a variation on this with my animal in it,
That's
and
so cool.
that's kind of
Good.
how we came up with the winning idea for Total Trends Toolkit.
That's really neat.
So yeah, that works pretty well. And then designing t-shirts the right way is that
Mm. Hmm.
course I mentioned, where we kind of break down the different design approaches, different styles,
Hmm.
and I actually create the designs live in Photoshop
Wow.
mostly, and Procreate usually. So walk you through my process for creating these different types of designs, rather than just, hey, here's some random designs. It's like, here's me creating this type. Here's me doing a parody. Here's me doing a text only. Here's me
Very cool.
doing graphics and text together. So walking through everything. So yeah, there's a few things there on the site. Thanks for
Oh, of
giving
course.
me the time to share that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love all your stuff. I got a lot of it myself, so this is really cool. Um, Thanks for sharing it. I'll put the links. You'll give me. I'm sure you'll give me the links to. Oh, it's on your website.
Of
Yeah,
course,
just
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
all on your
It's on
website.
my
So this one right
website.
here, michaelessek.com.
Yeah,
Spelled that right? Yeah. Okay, good. Perfect. Well, thanks for sharing that. That is really cool. I like how you like use the technology, but also some of the ideas that we've been doing. That's what we do. That's what we did. Was like we tried to go on the internet, search like different things, and try to
yeah,
come up
yeah,
with like it's all there. So
yeah.
that's
Exactly. It's
yeah.
that thing of how can we make this quicker
Uh-huh.
and easier, and it's using the technology not to like replace the thinking, but to
Yeah.
shorten the time frame.
Yeah.
Because as you know, if you notice a trend, you'd be like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm going to try and Google around it and research and
Hmm.
oh, what might work for that? Or, are there
Hmm.
any iconic kind of designs that might play on that? And you're kind of working through this process.
Love it.
But if you've got a big bank of stuff just in front of you, or you've got these
Hmm.
tools which allow you to think faster, if you like,
Hmm.
that's what is really, really useful for me. And we've got plenty of people and users in Ideally who are really, yeah, really enjoying coming up with ideas, and they're sharing their success
Makes it
stories,
fun.
and
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah, it's really fun. It is fun. I
Yeah.
think that's a big part of it is, if what you're doing isn't fun every day and you're
Yeah.
not kind of enjoying what you're doing, then you're going to run out of steam at some point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
being able to create things that you actually like and that
Hmm.
you think are funny
Hmm.
is a great position to be in. If you can make your money doing something that is funny that you enjoy,
Hmm.
then you're really onto a winner. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, thanks so much for sharing everything with us, all your ideas, and how to create a good T-shirt that people like to buy. Uh, and where can people find you? I know I added this, michaelessex.com. I also have your YouTube channel on here. Any place else where people can find you if they were looking for you?
Yeah, I'm on all the on the s- all on the s- I'm on all the socials. But yeah, my most active or the place to get the latest from me is my newsletter, which is you
Okay.
can sign up for free at michaelessek.com.
Okay.
I've been writing that email newsletter since
Years.
about 2017, I think, and
Wow. Yeah.
usually at least an email a week
Hmm.
with tips and updates, and
Hmm.
tend to do roundups when there's some print on demand news. So yeah, you can sign up at michaelessek.com. That's completely free, and you'll get emails from me, and I'll share what I'm working on, what's working for me, and give you the latest that's going on with print on demand in general.
Yeah, I like that too. I'm a I told you before I'm a fan. I get your emails as well, and I like that you do the roundup of like, oh, this is
Yeah,
what's happening with Redbubble and TeePublic or whatever the news is out there. Is like, oh, I didn't know that, and then so I go and research and
yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
The
So
problem is
thanks.
there's not always that much to. There's not something happening every week, so
Right.
I tend to have to I have to save things up and then be like, okay, I'll save that for for when we got a few more news stories to
Yeah.
write about. But yeah, there's been a few things already this year
Mhm.
with
This year.
print on demand news, which has been pretty big.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, usually I will write like a tip email or just some kind of general advice or something once a week.
that's so cool.
So yeah, people can sign up there.
Well, thanks. Thanks so much for sharing, for being on my channel. I know this is going to help a lot of people, especially those that are just starting out, looking for ways to sell T-shirts online and do something that they love. So, thanks. This has been great. Hope to see you soon again. I'll definitely watch you on on whatever you're on. So,
Yeah,
big
yeah.
fan
Thanks.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for your time, and appreciate it, and wish you all the best.
yeah. Thanks, Michael. See you later.
Thank you. See
Bye.
you. Bye bye.